Next witness.
We are here at this time, the state would call Sgt Rod Miller.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the case now hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Permission to inquire, Your Honor.
You may.
Could you introduce yourself to the jury?
I'm Roderick Miller, Sergeant with the Wichita Police Department.
How long have you been with Wichita Police Department?
18 years.
Where are you presently assigned?
Robbery, homicide.
Prior to your assignment, robbery homicide, were you a sergeant in any other area of the Wichita Police Department?
Crime scene investigations.
Were you working in that capacity on November 17, 2016?
Yes.
Do you recall whether you responded to a scene North Brunswick regarding a homicide involving a victim named Laura Abarca?
I did.
Can you explain to the jury why you would have responded to that scene?
As a crime scene investigator, as a supervisor, it is my job to identify the crime scene, evidence within that crime scene, so I can prepare the crime investigators to come in and process that scene.
Catherine Rhoda was one of your crime scene investigators at that time.
Correct.
Did you make her the lead on conducting the search of the apartment where Laura was found?
Yes.
Prior to that search, was there any information that caused you to enter the apartment prior to Miss Rhoda?
Yes. When the call came out, I immediately responded to that scene along with Lieutenant O'Gile. Information that we received once we got there was that there was a 6-day-old baby that was missing. Officers had already entered that apartment and cleared it one time. We felt that it was necessary to enter that apartment again and do a secondary search for the 6-day-old baby that was missing.
Just for clarity of the jury, who is Lieutenant O'Gile?
He is the homicide commander. He is my supervisor.
So he tells you to go in there and he helps you look for the baby.
He does.
Were you able to locate a baby?
No.
Prior to leaving the apartment, was a determination made to collect any evidence?
Yes. Next to Laura's body was a cell phone that was laying on the couch. I believe it was the sofa arm. That I was instructed to take out of the apartment.
Do you remember what kind of phone it was?
It was an Apple iPhone.
Is it typical in a homicide scene to disturb it in any way?
Typically on most homicides, the evidence that is identified within that scene is left there until the crime scene people come in and document where that's at.
What was different about this particular scene?
The urgency, dealing with a 6-day-old baby that's missing.
You're trying to find a baby.
Absolutely.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
I'm showing defense counsel what I marked previously as State's Exhibit 118. Sergeant Miller, do you recognize what I'm showing?
I do.
What is State's Exhibit 118?
This is a picture of Laura sitting on the sofa, and this is inside the apartment on Brunswick.
Is that a screenshot or a still image taken from an Axon video?
It is.
Did you have an opportunity to review Officer Jordan's video yesterday, specifically this still?
Yes, I did.
Is it a fair and accurate depiction of how you would have found the scene prior to removal of the phone?
That's correct.
Judge, at this time I'd move to admit State's Exhibit 118.
Without defense objection.
118 will be admitted.
Permission to publish?
You may show the jury.
And tell me you'll need to turn on He's going to turn it on.
Go ahead and put it on.
Our technology takes a second to warm up. That's the image that is before you. Judge, with your permission, could he stand away and point to where the phone is located?
Certainly.
This is where the phone is located.
Do you recall whether it was charging at that time or not?
I do not recall if it was charging at that time or not.
Now, when you removed it, did you make any observations of any other items of evidentiary value at that time?
I did. When I walked over to this area here to pick up the phone, this is an end table. It is glass, and I was able to see at the bottom of this table, there was a shell casing, a spent casing.
But you didn't collect that at that time.
I did not.
You're only collecting the phone to see if you could help you find the baby.
Absolutely, yes.
To your knowledge, was yourself or Lieutenant Ojal able to open the phone?
No, we did not.
Do you know if it was provided to other individuals to conduct a search of the Apple iPhone at a later time?
Yes, it was.
That would have been handed off to other officers that we commonly call the sixth floor.
That's correct.
What does the sixth floor mean for the jury?
Sixth floor is where the investigation is, where investigation is at within City Hall. That is where homicide is located, the unit homicide.
Where detectives do their desk work.
Yes.
During your search of the apartment for the infant, did you ever see a firearm?
I did not.
If I could just have one moment.
Certainly.
I realize based on the record, it might not be clear as to where you were pointing on the photograph. So with your permission, I'd like to approach you and hand you a pen.
You may.
I'm handing you my blue pen. If you could circle on the photograph the area where you found the phone. And if you could just put your initials there. Judge, I'd move to readmit State's Exhibit 118 based on those changes.
Mr. Smart?
I can see it.
Sure.
So the circle that he's made is to represent the phone?
That's my understanding.
Thank you, Your Honor. No objection.
118 will be readmitted with the written location.
Based on that, Judge, I have no further questions.
Mr. Smart and Ms. Ross?
No objection.
Sergeant Moore, thank you, sir. You can step in. You are excused.
Thank you.
Next witness, please.
I solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the case now hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Would you tell us your name, please?
My name is Lacey Webb.
Okay, can you maybe pull the microphone a little bit closer?
My name is Lacey Webb.
Much better, thank you. Ms. Webb, I want you to remember back to November 17th of 2016. Can you tell us where you were living at that time?
I was at 215 Brunswick, here in Wichita, apartment number 2.
And who were you staying there with?
Christy Clayton. My daughter was also living there.
How long had you lived at that address before November 17th?
No more than about 2 months.
Were you working?
Yes,
Where?
I had 2 jobs at the time. I was working at McDonald's and Spangles of Tyler Road.
Okay. When you worked at the Spangles, what hours did you typically work?
It was usually either first or second shift, because I worked third shift at McDonald's, so...
When you, pardon me, when you lived there in apartment number 2, did you know the people who lived in apartment number 1?
Yes, I did.
And who was that?
Laura and her mother, along with Laura's, I believe it was her boyfriend, the father of the baby.
So Laura's mother, Laura's boyfriend, and later on the baby.
Yes.
Did you know Laura very well?
I used to work with her at Logan's,
How long ago?
I would say 2008, 9-ish. I don't really recall the year, but I worked with her for a little while.
So you had known her quite a long time?
Yes, I used to bring my kids also down to go see her mother once a week.
So didn't have any trouble recognizing her?
No, sir.
Didn't have any trouble recognizing her mother?
No, sir.
On November 17th of 2016, did you work that day?
Yes, I did.
Where did you work?
I worked at Spangles.
What time did you start working?
I believe I had opened that morning and I was going on break. And that was right after the lunch hour, so about 1:30-ish.
Okay, so you worked from early morning until about 1:30,
Yes, sir.
and were you planning to then go back to work again?
Yes, I was going for a break when I went back to the apartment.
How did you get from the Spangles to your apartment?
I had called my friend Christy, the lady I had lived with. She worked at Spangles too, so she came and picked me up. It was right around the corner. I was trying to relax.
So Christy also lived in apartment 2 with you.
Yes.
When Christy came to pick you up, where did you go after she picked you up?
We went directly to the house. Well, their apartment, I'm sorry.
Who was driving?
She was.
And where did you park?
We parked in the very first parking spot that is right in front of the sidewalk that goes in front of number 1 and number 2.
So that would be on the east side of the building,
Yes,
right off the street.
yes.
Did you go from there to your apartment?
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to show you how smart this State Exhibit number 4, and ask if you recognize that.
Yes, that's the door to number 2. And the windows right there is number 1.
Okay, could we see number 4, please? On the screen behind you is
Oh,
the TV
sorry.
behind you.
Yes, sir.
Can you see that from your location? Okay.
Yes.
There is a sidewalk that runs on the left side, that'd be the south side of the building, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And as we're looking at the photograph, it's in about the center of the picture.
Yes, sir.
And at the end of that sidewalk is a doorway. What is that a doorway to?
That doorway is to number 2, where I lived.
Then on the right side of the sidewalk, but the south side of the building, there's kind of a white object, maybe about a third of the way down. Do you see that?
The paper? Is that what it is?
I'm actually pointing or directing you to
Oh, the-
that. What is that?
The light out front of door number 1.
Okay. And door number 1 is where Laura and her family lived.
Yes, sir.
Does State's Exhibit number 4 show the path that you took from the parking lot to apartment number 2, your apartment?
Yes, sir.
And that would be the sidewalk?
Yes.
As you were going, or pardon me, as you left the parking lot and went to your apartment, did you go inside?
Inside my apartment?
Yes.
Yes.
And how long did you stay there?
Well, I went in and I went back up to my vehicle, or Christy's vehicle, to get a lighter. I left it in the car. And I was trying to smoke a cigarette, but on my way back out to the vehicle, I realized that door, sorry.
Just slow down. We can't have you saying a whole lot without questions.
Right, sir.
Okay. So you went inside your apartment, then you forgot your lighter, were going back to the car.
Yes, sir.
Now, the place where the car is located, that's not shown in State's Exhibit 4, is it?
It's not,
But it
it's not
would-
showing right now.
It basically would be, if you extended the front of the picture straight out, that would get you to where the car was.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're walking on the pathway now going from the door to apartment 2 out to toward the street. That puts apartment number 1 on your left, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you notice anything as you're going from your apartment out to the parking lot?
Yes.
What did you notice?
The door was cracked.
I'll show you State's Exhibit number 5. Do you recognize that as the doorway to apartment number 1?
Yes, sir.
And if we can see number 5, please. The photograph of the door, the part with the knob and the lock, that's the part closest to the parking lot, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And as you're going from the parking lot into your apartment, that would have been on your right side. And the door, the right edge of the door would have been somewhat blocked by the wall, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Okay. As you're coming from your apartment out to the parking lot, the opening edge of the door is more visible, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
When you say it was open a little bit, how much?
I would say about that much.
And you're indicating with your fingers maybe 4 or 5 inches?
At the most.
Did you see anything as you were going out toward the car?
No.
You got your lighter? Did you take the same path back to apartment 2?
Yes, sir.
Did you see anything out of the ordinary about the area of doorway 1 at that time?
The door was still cracked.
And were there any people around?
There was a young lady that was looking at me.
That was looking at you?
They were looking out the door in my direction.
Describe for us, at the time you saw the young woman, how far open the door was.
The door was still probably about the same amount that I had shown you already, about max 4 to 5 inches.
And how much of this woman could you see?
Just her face.
And where was her face located in relation to say the doorknob on the door?
She was right about there, and all I was able to see was her face.
She was then inside apartment 1.
Yes, sir.
When you saw this person, did that have any kind of emotional impact on you?
I thought she was there to help with the baby.
You knew that Laura had just delivered a child a week or so before.
Yes, sir.
And there'd been, her mother had stayed home from work. Her boyfriend had stayed home from work, right?
Yes.
And it's fairly common for people to come over to Newport.
Rephrase your question, please.
Did it surprise you that someone was there?
No.
As you approached the door, about where were you when you could first see this woman?
I was almost by the stairs. I had turned around and looked.
Can we go back to number 4, please? Okay. And when you say almost by the stairs, were you to the east or west of the stairs?
I was basically to the west. I had to think about it. To the west of the stairs, closer to number 2.
Had you noticed the person before you got that far west?
No, I just kind of glanced over and realized somebody was there looking at me weird.
Did you say looking at me weird?
Like I wasn't supposed to be there.
So you got to about where the stairs were and directed more attention toward the women?
Yes, sir.
Tell us what you remember observing about her at that time.
I thought it was really strange seeing somebody just giving me the weird glare. I've never seen her there.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
I never seen her anywhere around the home. I didn't really know what to think. By the time I made it into number 2, I made it aware that it didn't seem right.
So you talked to Christy when you got back
Yes, sir.
to apartment 2?
Yes.
You said you'd not seen the person before.
Yes, sir.
You knew it wasn't Laura.
Yes.
You knew it wasn't her mother.
Yes, sir.
Did the image that you saw make an impression on you?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain it for us why?
It made more of an impression after I realized what happened.
How long after you saw this woman did you find out what had happened?
It was only like 2, max 3 hours later.
And when you say what happened, you're talking about the Laura being shot.
Yes.
Did you ever see that person again that you had seen there in apartment number 1?
No, sir.
Have you seen that person since November 17, 2016?
Yes.
Where did you first see that person?
In court.
And that was several months ago?
Yes, sir.
Did you identify that person at that time?
Yes, sir.
Is that person here in the courtroom again today?
Yes, sir.
Tell us where she's seated and what she's wearing.
She's seated to the right of you, the very first seat. And she's wearing teal with a braid on her side.
Would the record reflect the witness identified Ms. Sesmas?
They will also reflect.
Do you notice any difference between Ms. Sesmas's appearance today and what it was on November 16, 2017?
No, not really.
I'm sorry.
No, not really.
Any difference in her hair?
I couldn't see too much. I was only able to see basically her face.
Could you tell anything about the nationality of the person when you saw her there on November 16th?
I was able to tell that she was Hispanic.
You talked with a detective that same day, didn't you?
Yeah,
And you have had an opportunity to review a transcript of that interview? Okay. For counsel, I'm referring to the interview with Detective Shoemaker on page 7. And if I'm going to ask you just to read this to yourself, okay?
yes, sir.
Right there. Does reading and stuff from approximately line 2 through line 6, is that what you've read to yourself?
Yeah,
After reading that, does that refresh your recollection about whether or not you noticed anything about the defendant's hair that day?
well, I was able to see the top of her head because it was shown, but I couldn't tell if it was extremely long. I couldn't really, I just saw the front of her.
Okay. How about the color?
I was able to see the color,
And what color did you see on November 16th?
dark,
I'm sorry?
a darker brown, almost black.
Since this happened, you've had some trouble yourself, haven't you?
I sure have.
In fact, you pled guilty to count of forgery, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
And you cashed a check that didn't belong to you.
Yes, sir.
You're now on probation.
Yes, sir.
There's nothing in your probation about coming into court and testifying, is there?
What do you mean by that, sir?
Coming into court and testifying is not a condition of your probation, is it?
No. You just dropped something.
Do you remember telling a detective that on the day of November 17th, the defendant had blonde highlights?
Objection, meetings.
Rephrase the question, if you need to show a copy of the transcript, you may approach.
I'm going to show you page 9, and ask you to read lines 27 through 35 to yourself, please. After reading that, does it refresh your recollection?
I do remember saying that.
Okay. And what was it that you told Detective Shoemaker then?
You said when?
No, what did you tell him on?
I had said that it looked like she might have had blonde highlights. The sun was out, it was bright in the middle of the day, and I wasn't sticking around to do any more eye-to-eye contact with somebody I didn't know.
But you did tell Detective Shoemaker that you thought she had some blonde highlights.
I did say that.
Okay. That's all I have, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Smart?
No questions, sir.
Ms. Webb, thank you very much. You step down, you're excused.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to take our afternoon, or I'm sorry, our noon recess at this time. I'd ask that you back into the jury room by 1:20. We'll try to start as close to 1:30 as possible. Please remember that admission remains in effect. With that, we'll be recessed. Have a good lunch. That's for everybody, your name is over, the jury's off the floor.
Bless you.
We're out of the presence of the jury. Does either side have anything you need to place on the record before we're in recess? Not mistake?
No, yeah.
All right. You will be in recess. We can have everybody back about 1:30. We just start this little 1:30.
Yeah. I was able to get something in this morning.